What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. I am very out of it. The weather has been doing cartwheels. I haven't been sleeping very much. Work stuff is on my mind constantly. And I haven't eaten today either, so we'll try to keep this brief. Maybe it'll be a longer video if we get into it, hit a second wind or something. Some preambles and then topics. Life is weird, but I am thankful it stays interesting. Life decided all of a sudden we're going to drop the exact sort of woman you want, more importantly, the sort of woman you need, directly in my lap. I think to get a rise out of me, to get a reaction out of me, in part to help me see what I am now, what I've become, and because, this is an actual wife candidate. And I do mean that on the individual level. We get along well, we enjoy one another. But also on the stock level, as in, what is the nature of a woman you know you're going to have a serious relationship with? Not only is she within all the ranges, but also of that sort of woman who could fall in those ranges, she's the highest level version of a woman who could fall in those ranges. Down to weird, uncanny details, too. Fingers crossed this is something. However, in life terms, I feel like Pim at the end of one of those episodes of Smiling Friends where he's lying in the chair, speaking to life, do to me whatever you're going to do to me. The outcome is in life's hands, it's in Venus's hands, Hecate's hands, Ishtar's hands. I'm going to focus on doing a good job the way my intuition tells me I need to do a good job. Anyway, the first point is I'm shocked I am who I am now. Because it feels like life just threw this at me casually because it knew how I was going to react. Here is exactly what you've been looking for. Now, how do you feel about it? And I felt everything you're supposed to feel when you feel love, and life itself, the universe itself, has bestowed upon you a boon. This is kinda nuts. It took a minute at first, but we are synchronized now. And wow, it's weird being almost a man and experiencing synchronization. It's different when you're a younger dude and that is your entire life. When you're almost a man, almost 30, just now becoming maybe not a kid sometimes, you're still hit with the gravity of it and the intensity of it and the emotions and the hopes and the dreams and the comfort. But that's not where my conscious mind went. My conscious mind stayed in business mode, in a macro sense. As in, it wasn't the way it would be when I was younger. Oh my god, I'm in love. Wow. This is everything and more. And just this and only this and all this. I felt that, but it was compartmentalized. And where my conscious mind went was, okay, I got something I've always been looking for. When I get it, when my nonprofit folds and I go to get another nonprofit job, originally I was planning on maybe EDing for if we're going the size scale, I'm an ED for a tiny nonprofit. Maybe I'll ED for a small nonprofit, maybe a little more money, work my way up that way. I like being in the driver's seat, even though it's not really the driver's seat. But that's something you're going to have to get used to because everybody has a boss, and everybody usually has 5 fucking bosses. So you're going to have to figure that out at some point. But no, now that I have to worry about her and our potential future, I should probably shoot for an assistant director position at a medium to maybe even large nonprofit for significantly more money. That getting into that position would probably be a little bit more difficult, but I've done enough now, I know enough now, I can talk through this well enough now. I can probably land one of those positions for a substantial amount of money. At least in this economy, for someone my age working a day job. And then the prestige that comes with that. Social credits, they don't directly transfer into material gain, but part of getting good at a career like this is learning how to turn social credit into money credit for your organization and for yourself, and I've gotten a bit better at that. And a position like that, it wouldn't just be more money, it would also be more social credits, and I'll be better able to convert them. That's the word I was looking for, to convert them at that time, hopefully. And damn, in terms of leisure, I've been really busy lately. I've been getting to play State of Decay 2 for only maybe an hour a night, maybe every other night if I'm lucky. And God, I think I've got Nightmare figured out, but how am I going to deal with Lethal? I know I don't. Well, State of Decay 2, that whole community is strange. If you ever get into that game, it's such a niche game, but the community is alive and well and strange and combative and kind of autistic. I don't usually feel pressured into being competitive, but these dickheads, they talk about playing on the hardest difficulty with all these hard mutations, and I'm sure a lot of them are bullshitting. I know some of them aren't. I know a lot of these people are probably kids, and this is where they derive their value. Maybe they're unemployed, they have a lot of time to do this. But I don't like that they're better than I am. And for some reason with this game, I feel like I gotta do something about that, and I'm getting 1 hour a night to practice, and I'm competing against the idea of people. And I bet if I sold this and that, I could probably get more seed money to build a new life. I've been saving pretty well. Completely liquid right now, we're at $13,000, which is a big deal for me. I still have my student loans to worry about, which I haven't paid this month. I need to. But you see what I'm saying with all this. I am in coach mode. And I'm coaching a team that consists of myself and this woman and potentially somebody else. We'll talk about that in this video. Holy shit, it's just a lot. Funny, interesting, and weird the way things line up. But I'm thinking like a coach now, while also being in the game. And that unnerved me when it dawned on me. I thought, when I noticed I was doing this, at first I thought, okay, well, I am probably thinking this is too good to be true, so I'm detaching by putting my brain into the business or figuring shit out part of life to protect myself. But that's not what I'm doing, because, as I said, when I'm in my own body, I feel for her. And even when I'm in executive mode, my concern for her and for me, for us, is always in the background, even if it's not conscious the way it would be when I was younger. Younger me would have fought and died for the chance to be in this position I'm in right now. And I'm not experiencing ecstasy. And on one hand, it's cool realizing you have actually become a shark. Somewhere in the last few years, you turned into a predator that naturally needs to keep moving and is worried about survival shit, about problem shit. That's another thing. When I was younger, when I would run into problems, my first thing would be, oh my god, what do I do? Or if I'm going to try to solve the problem, what's the way I'm supposed to do this? Or if it's in relation to other people, how am I supposed to do this? Who am I going to piss off? Or who do I need to consult? Now, when I run into a problem, I feel resignation, and I think, alright, what is fixing this problem going to cost? Who is it going to piss off? And can I do it? And then I start working on it until it's done. And if it's not something I can deal with, then I call somebody I can consult or can get to do it. There's not hesitation, and there's not really a lot of trepidation either for most problems. Now it's just automatic. I'm tired, I'm stressed, this needs to get fixed, but everyone's going to be angry that I have fixed it. Let's just get this over with. That makes me feel confident. Sometime in the next 10 years, I'm going to be an actual man. And that's kind of exciting, because I was worried about that. I have been worried about that. On the other hand, oh my god, is this what being a man feels like? Is this what it costs? Life just gave me a golden goose. No strings attached. Here, take it. Down to the last minute details. Exactly what you want. Maybe even what you need. Not maybe. Definitely what you need. I cannot stress how synced we are in the way I was talking about in the last video. And you can't enjoy it the way you could when you were younger. How do you feel about that, stupid? It scared me. And it still kind of scares me. Because part of me feels like I'm in a fever dream. Or a lucid dream. Or no, a non-lucid dream. An almost lucid dream. Everything is going the way it's supposed to. I feel extraordinarily righteous in this moment. This is all playing out the way cosmically it's supposed to play out. But I do feel alienated from myself a bit, because I'm not reacting the way I'm used to reacting to things. I'm reacting like... how to explain this? I feel like a still lesser awareness inhabiting a somewhat greater being. Like the character I'm playing in a game leveled up substantially, but I, the player, didn't realize that happened or wasn't ready for it. It's cool, but I'm playing a different game now. And that's what makes me uneasy. And I think the first... we're 14 minutes, and the first 14 minutes covers what the thumbnail title or text is going to be. This is one of those videos that you have to do thumbnail text one thing, title another thing. First 14 minutes covers thumbnail text. This is where we get into the title of the video. When this woman and I are speaking and bleeding for one another, and drinking one another's blood like we were already prepped and ready for it, even though neither of us knew for certain that's what the other one was going to do. Synchronization, as I said. I feel love and excitement and happiness the way I used to at about 80% volume. Being with her directly when we're interacting directly, she makes me feel like 80% of the young romantic boy I was, as opposed to 100% of this weird shark I've turned into. Not at great white levels yet. Maybe we'll get there. I feel majestic. I feel like a great white, but I know I'm not there yet. Maybe a hammerhead or maybe a mako. Mako sharks are cool. And that's an uneasy thing too. Maybe it's needs to be like that. Maybe you should never go back to being 100% the boy you were. Better to you need to stay in your almost man state most of the time. And even when you're in boyishness mode, that almost man XP level still needs to be there. But that realization you can never go all the way back, that's something I'm going to have to think about and sit with. But my point is, what is one thing women do for men? Because I think women, when you're in one of these man is a man, woman is a woman relationships, which are pretty invigorating, by the way, men and women do lots of different stuff for one another at different stages of your life, but that's the key here. It changes. I'm not used to a woman filling these roles in my life because these needs didn't exist before. Now, when I was a boy, things that a full boy, not half man, things that were fulfilling felt fulfilling. On their own, they don't anymore. One of the things a woman does is helps a man stay in touch with the aspects of life that feel good, that mean anything, that make life worth living. Because you think about, we're on this track. You're a dude, you're watching this video, and you don't fucking suck. I'm going to assume you are trying to level yourself up. Where would we be without women? We would evolve into pure war machines, or I think it's the von Neumann probe thing, but the paperclip producer. We exist to turn resources into products, but products that don't mean anything. We would be machines. Biological machines. Everything in life is a problem to be solved. Everything is a roadblock to be navigated around or broken through. We would be in a spiral of getting better at dealing with shit. And that's all. However, a good woman, a woman you are synchronized with, she keeps you in touch with anything that is really worth anything. Or at least as much of you as she can. She helps save you from the void of survival alone. Once you've started crossing that barrier, once you've started going cyborg, you can never completely go back, but she can keep parts of you back. For both of you. And this is where we get into a smaller point I wanted to mention. Because I've been thinking about this. How do you tell a woman you should try investing in versus a woman you shouldn't? Or how do you know when you're being played? We mentioned last time sex is everything. Or at least it's tied to everything. And that upset a lot of people. That upset the asexual legions. That pissed them off. It pissed off the Christian semen retainers, upset them. Everybody hates sex. Everybody hates connection, and it's funny that people hate connection, while these are the exact sorts of people who always moralize about connectivity and all this. But then they look at actual connection and despise it viscerally, which means you know you're on the right path, by the way. The scorn of Joe Dipshit you should take as an indication you're moving in the right direction. But I realized you're not just looking for a woman who will stick her ass in your face immediately. Although that is nice, and that is, can be an indication of the sort of thing you're looking for. You don't have to find that specifically. The key characteristic of the sort of woman you want in your life is she's a giver. And more specifically, she is your giver. She desires to give unto you. In this two-person superorganism, this symbiosis, you exist to do different things for each other, to be different things for each other, to help the health of the organism that is your union. Sex is an important part of that. For procreation, for a lot of spiritual reasons, base physical pleasure as well. It's a lot, and I think people don't like that it's a lot for some reason. I don't know why that is. If men could truly go fuck ourselves, I'm sure we would. I'm sure women would too. And that, or sex is good sex is an indicator of your level of synchronization, your level of connectivity, but that's not everything. You do different things for each other, like the woman keeping the soul of a man intact. The man, one of his responsibilities is to become a beast of the woods, so far to the point he can't fully ever go back, for her interests, to take care of her, to take care of himself too, to take care of your kids. But you transform into something terrible, something that sucks to be, and you can never stop being once you are. That's one of the things we do. But what you're looking for, and what you should be screening for, is her desire to be your giver. And I know women watch these videos. I think that applies for you guys too. That's something you need to be looking for in a man. You're looking for a man who wants to give of himself to you, what he has that you don't or can't. And at least from the dude's side, because you're going to be... And this... Oh, shit, that's another thing. That's another thing men do for women in these relationships, is you're the guide. You're the instructor. And I know... Well, actually, no. I know a lot of people will hate that, but I have a feeling underneath a lot of society's bullshit, I can feel that we are slowly moving back in that direction. Because it feels right. And people like things that feel good. They like things that feel right. Most importantly, they like things that get results. And this gets results. But what does it mean to be a teacher? What does it mean to be an instructor or a guide for your woman? That doesn't mean being an authoritarian. That doesn't mean being controlling. That doesn't mean whipping her into shape. It's so simple. I'm suspicious of it. It's so simple. It's beautiful, too, if I'm right about this. All you have to do is apply your righteousness to her. We talk about righteousness on this channel pretty regularly, but for people who don't know, another way you might say it outside channel vernacular would be intuition. Even if the entire world and your body, everything is telling you X is the wrong thing to do, but you know, in spite of everything, in spite of your most ingrained moral codes, maybe, X is the thing you should do. That's righteousness. Knowing X is the thing to do and then doing it, that is righteousness. And when you live righteously, life still sucks, the universe still fucks you around, but it feels like the universe is secretly on your side. And although it brutalizes you and leaves you in the dark a lot of the time, God is on your side quietly. You, as the man, handle both your righteousnesses. You keep yourself on the narrow path that is so narrow, it almost feels like a joke sometimes. Everything will tell you not to do the one thing you know you need to be doing. Maybe you even disagree with it. It's weird, but when you do it, life feels right. You keep her on the path the same way you keep yourself on the path. And another crazy thing about righteousness is that's going to look totally different for every person, because we're all alive. If you're a devotee of a being, if you're an acolyte, you're a true believer, a true servant of your deity, we're all going to have different jobs. So it's going to look different, it's going to play out differently, but that's the one consistent thing. Keeping yourself on the path, keeping her on the path. Against every odd, life will throw at you, that you'll throw at yourself, that she'll throw at you, and she will. That's what I think it means to be a guide. That's what it means to guide your woman. Super simple, technically, but impossibly hard to do a lot of the time. But if you're already accustomed to living righteously, you'll figure it out. But back to the tactic I was talking about. Screening for that desire in a woman to be your giver. Ask her what she's wearing, or ask her to give you a kiss or something. When you're feeling drawn to her, this is when you're screening, I mean. Even if it might feel uncomfortable for you, or it might be a little awkward or something, make it real with how you feel. Make it real with how you feel. That's going to go on a shirt one day. And see if she gives you a little bit. Even if it's just a little taste. Does she want to give to you? If she does, then you're probably on the right track. And it's important. I like this as a tactic because it is a good screening method. That is a good way to figure out if a woman wants to be a giver, wants to be your giver. But also, it is making yourself vulnerable to her, because she can say no. That is a form of rejection. It feels bad. But one, you get rejected in that way. She doesn't want to be your giver. That's good to know. Feels bad, hurts your ego, but you know now. But more importantly, if she does want to be your giver, or might want to be your giver, you're showing her your throat, and you're submitting to the fact she is or could be to you something you cannot be to yourself. It's humility in the face of your other. And this is such a small thing, but I think this little thing can speak to a whole lot when you are figuring out whether or not this is a woman you want to deal with. Okay, does she want to be your giver? Can you show humility And how does she respond to your humility? So, with all this, although I realized yesterday I'm cybernetic, or at least part cybernetic now, and can't go back, I feel good about all this. And I feel like we made a pretty big breakthrough here. Not just for my life, but also for one of my quiet little dreams has been to not be Patrice O'Neill, but to be a favored monk in his monastery. And that little tactic I just talked about feels like some fucking nth Dan mystical black belt bullshit that we figured out. I am very pleased with everything and everyone at this moment. And now that we've brought up Patrice, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the one I mentioned in passing earlier, because that's some hilarious shit. And of course, life is such a jokester. That other woman I talked about in the last video, I wanted to keep her around. And I could feel why, but I found the right way to say it. We had some kind of weird faux chemistry because she is a giver. And she has done things that makes me believe either she wants to be... This is so fucked up to say, but we have to say it. I don't think she wants to be my giver. I think she wants to be the Skimmerlit banner's giver, which is different from being a man's giver. And also, she's not a giver the way a woman is a giver to a man. We had no sexual chemistry. We couldn't synchronize, yet something was there. She was doing giving things, but it was not wife giving, it was soldier giving, and it wasn't giving unto me specifically, it was giving unto the Skimmerlit banner. So I didn't want to kick her to the curb because... This is another thing. It hit me earlier. I think she's a psychopath, not a sociopath. Factor 2, not factor 1. That's why there was that flash of, oh Jesus. And she feels dangerous in a useful way. She's been irrationally supportive, following some kind of logic or conditions that I can't see, that I don't understand. Do you know what she reminds me of? Her vibe, everything. If our goal is to turn into Kurtz, because we're not going to be Willard, it would be cool to be Willard, but Willard is passivity incarnate, which is weird because I love Willard. I really love Willard. Martin Sheen is a beautiful human being. Brown hair and green eyes, there is just nothing better. Anyway, we're becoming Kurtz. Do you know what this woman... We're going to call her Dragon. Do you know what Dragon is? I think the dude's name is Caleb or Isaac or something. She is the dude who joined Kurtz, who was the first Willard. He sent the sell the kids, sell the house, I'm never going back. Or no, it was I'm never going home, and he crosses out home and then says I'm never going back. And then when Willard and Chef and Lance, yeah, they're all alive at that point, they roll up and he's fucking standing there shirtless with a shotgun with a scalp hanging off the front of it, just staring at them. That's her vibe. that is not someone you throw away on a purely practical level without figuring out what they can do. And also, and this is a bad habit of mine I'm finding, is I'll state the worst, ugliest version of something first, and then talk about the kinder aspects later, because I want people to see things at the worst first so they can operate around that, because that's what I appreciate. On the kinder level, once I realized that she was down for the cause, I think you don't. When people sacrifice for you, you try to take care of them, or at minimum, do right by them. So before this other woman came in, she and I, Dragon and I, tried to do or we screened for the husband wife thing. That wasn't going to work, but she is very soldiery, meaning there's an opportunity here to build a small tribe, husband to one, colonel to another. Soldier doesn't sexually threaten the wife because we tried and it didn't work before the wife rolled up. That's not there. It's a fealty thing, I think, or at least part of it. It's a different sort of guidance. And because I'm still thinking in executive mode, an extra set of hands that is that loyal is useful to everybody. Both ways. A husband, wife, and bannerman thing. Wife takes priority first and foremost, but you can do that without turning away someone who is loyal and useful. I feel like I'm Brando monologuing. We really are Kurtzmaxing here. And then in terms of status, what you can do with it. That's another thing. Everybody acts like appearances and status are dumb and they don't matter, and they shouldn't matter, and ultimately they don't matter. But they do matter because they should matter. And if you can pump your status and you know what to do with your status, you can do some pretty incredible things. As a man who's power hunting, if you have two women who are down for you, even if one is down in a different way and you're not fucking her, because it... I thought about this while we were talking. Do you remember the Yahtzee Croshaw review of, I think, one of the Bayonetta games? And he was talking about Bayonetta, whether or not she's a sex symbol or whether or not Bayonetta as a character is sexist. And he said, I don't think she's a sex symbol because I could not imagine having sex with her. That's how I feel about this other woman. We tried, and it was really awkward. Soldier vibes, not wife vibes. Back to the point, that opens up opportunities for you to play status games and take advantage. Also, it's not just an extra set of hands, it's mutual elevation in a way that is not threatening to any one of us. A team. This was a nuts process. Oh my... It all... And we're talking... This is so much shit we've talked about. This all happened in the span of 2 or 3 days. We are going to together try this. And I already have plans for how I can upgrade these two, get them to higher levels. This is all just crazy shit, but this is why you should live righteously. Because when you're living righteously, when you get yourself used to doing weird shit against odds, because you need to on a spiritual level. I always talk about 0 to 100. Sometimes life will launch you, utterly launch you from 0 to 1,000, maybe even 10,000. Not 100,000, but it could, and we're building up our G tolerances. This is just insane shit. And outside all this, or above all this, do you know what this feels like to me? This feels like in Starship Troopers. Well, they do it in boot camp. I think I forget what they call it, but you're like a boot sergeant or something. And then they do it in the officer candidate school. I think it's lieutenant third grade or something. You are so just barely commissioned. It's almost a joke. That's what this feels like, except for greatness. And I mean big, big greatness. I'm looking at life and I'm thinking, are you serious with all this? Is this what the years of training were for? Is this where this was going? And this doesn't, and this should, for anybody else, this should feel like a destination, and it doesn't. It feels like a starting point. Years of relative silence, and then what should be a life-sized curveball, and it's not. It's just the start. And we demonstrated what we've learned, and we've gotten somewhere. We've gotten somewhere good. Or at least we've proven ourselves capable of getting somewhere good. Of working with what our God supplies us with. We're like gorillas. Okay, before God, Ishtar gives you CIA type weapons and supplies you to overthrow something, you have to prove yourself, and we've just mildly proven ourselves. But just mildly proving ourselves would be a crazy thing to Joe Dipshit. None of this feels real. That's what I'm talking about. This feels like a fever dream, like I'm gonna get shot any second now, or I'm gonna wake up, and I'm still right now in coach mode. Anyway, I think we're gonna cut it here. You get the point. Men and women are supposed to supply one another with different things so they can become greater wholes together. And when you're screening a partner, as a man or a woman, you need to see if this person, even in a small degree, wants to be your giver, your supplier of the other sex's goods and responsibilities in this partnership. And if they're not, fuck them. Tell them to take a hike. You have better things to do. There are people who want to be your supplier and whom you want to be the supplier for. It's just so much in such a short span of time, and you wake up and you realize you aren't the person you thought you were anymore. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.